Big Daddy Darth Vader in Star Wars Battlefront 2 by EA. It's clearly a tank, right? Lots of health, big character model, eh? So what does that make everybody else on the roster? I mean, think about it. Heroes versus Villains, the game mode, is basically a competitive hero shooter like Overwatch or Marvel Rivals. Except,
there was only one problem.
The Battlefront 2 heroes don't have roles.
Nani?
Hero shooters usually have 3 roles that the characters all fit into, right? DPS, tanks, and supports. But Battlefront doesn't do that with its roster, even though it easily could. These characters clearly fit into those 3 categories, so today we're doing just that and assigning these characters the roles they deserve. This game's been out for almost 8 years, and I don't think this has ever been done on YouTube before, so if you're still playing Battlefront 2 in the year of our Lord 2025, make sure to hit that thumbs up button for me. I need to know who's just as insane as I am. So let's just get started. We're going to begin with the DPS characters, and what's cool about the Battlefront 2 roster is it's kind of like Pokemon. You know how Pokemon have dual typings? Like think Charizard, primary fire type, secondary flying. And it's kind of the same thing here. We can have a primary DPS with a secondary support, for example. And there is a character for every single variation in the game, so we'll go over all of them. Let's start with pure DPS first, though. In no particular order, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Anakin Skywalker, Emperor Palpatine, Bossk, Iden Versio, Count Dooku, and Darth Maul are going to be your 8 pure DPS characters in Battlefront. Luke is extremely self-explanatory. Homeboy has nothing but offensive abilities, and his star cards are all about making him stronger, whether it's increasing the lightsaber damage, making the force powers hit stronger. Luke has one job and one job only, and that's to run in there and hit the dark side in the face with a lightsaber, and he's really, really good at it. Anakin is kind of the flip side of Luke, which honestly, thematically is perfect. But where Luke focuses more on speed, Anakin is definitely more focused on power. Their force powers are basically inversions of themselves, where Luke has a push, Anakin has the pull, and they've both got the 360 AoE, so they're more or less the same character, just with different strengths, right? Anakin, especially when it comes to his star cards, is all about maximizing damage. Massive Strikes is basically a must-have on every single Anakin build. Han Solo is kind of the same story. He is, by definition, a glass cannon. Homeboy dishes out the damage, but he can't really take it himself. That's why he needed that 3rd dodge card. As far as the light side goes, these 3 are your core damage dealers, and I'm sure you'll notice that the dark side has more DPS characters, which actually makes a lot of sense. Light side is kind of geared more towards strategy and knocks. Dark side's more about full-on power. Of the variety. Emperor Palpatine was kind of a tricky one to place because I wanted to make him a support, but looking at his abilities and his star cards, he's really not a support character. He is a full-on DPS. He doesn't do as much damage as, let's say, Anakin in a single shot. He's more about applying steady and consistent pressure with his lightning, and if the lightning doesn't finish them off, the dark aura absolutely will. So Palpatine, even though he's got a stun, even though he's got a really reliable and slippery dodge, I think he is, by definition, a DPS. Same thing with Bossk. Every single one of his abilities is about doing damage. He chunks the light side with those mines, and if he doesn't finish them off, there's always the gas. Bossk is kind of a wild card because, like Han Solo, he's also a glass cannon, but because of that, I think he fits nicely in the DPS category. I can kind of see Bossk and Han as 2 sides of the same coin. Then we've got Iden Versio, and Iden was kind of tricky because 2 of her abilities are defensive in nature. She's got the stun droid and she's got the bubble shield. But if we're being honest, a good DPS needs a way to protect themselves, right? And Iden having such a low health pool, she needs to be able to dish out big damage, and that alt fire is ridiculous. Try getting beamed by that ball of death over and over again. You're not going to survive. Iden's a DPS. Count Dooku, I think, is as obvious a DPS as it gets. That guy is all about doing damage. Exposed Weakness is a debuff, Lightning Stun is a very reliable interruption, and Duelist just increases the damage even more. Count Dooku is your quintessential DPS character on the dark side. And last but not least, we have Maul, one of my personal favorite characters to play, and I think he's the opposite of Luke because they're both the speed demons on their respective side. I kind of look at Maul the same way I see Black Panther or Magic in Marvel Rivals. This guy is a dive character for sure. Spin attack gets him into the back line, he can do a bunch of combos with his abilities, and he can get out of there before the Jedi can catch up to him. If you play dive in those competitive hero shooters, I would recommend trying out Maul or Luke in Battlefront 2. So that's all the pure DPSs, and full disclosure, DPS is the category that has the most characters, so we're going to spend the most time here. Let's move on to the one and only DPS tank in Battlefront 2, General Grievous. The good general is ridiculous in this game, man. He is a DPS because all of his abilities deal damage. He's got 2 extremely reliable knocks. He's got star cards that make him even stronger. For all intents and purposes, he should be a pure DPS if it weren't for Flesh is Weak and Cowardly Retreat. Those 2 star cards, when equipped on Grievous, make him nigh unkillable. And that is, by definition, a tank. So Grievous is our first hybrid, DPS/tank. And this is what I meant with the Pokemon analogy, right? He's got the primary typing, but then he's also got the secondary. General Grievous is insane. You don't even need Cowardly Retreat. Flesh is Weak is more than enough to make him a tank, but put both of them on and you're not killing him. Next up, we've got the final DPS category, DPS and supports. And we've got 3 characters in this one, starting with Boba Fett. Boba is like that little mosquito that you just can't swat. His blaster and his rockets do insane damage, but the reason he's a support is because the middle ability gives his team both radar and wall hacks, so everybody can see the enemy coming. And the concussion missile is one of the most annoying things in this entire game. When Boba has the star card that cools his abilities down faster while he's flying, he can spam that concussion over and over and over again, and the light side will basically be blind all game. He is primary DPS, but the support is so good from Boba Fett. It's usually the good Bobas that keep you distracted and blind while their teammates finish you off. But the next 2 DPS supports are polar opposites. First up, we've got Rey Bebe, probably my favorite lightsaber user on the light side. Rey's middle ability is basically the same as Boba's. It gives her teammates wall hacks and radar hacks, and this one's even better than Boba's. Plus, she's got the star card that makes it last longer. And then she's got the mind trick that inverts the controls, and then she's got the dash that knocks people down. Rey is insanely underrated in this game, and the insight ability is really what makes her so good. Double stamina and a small damage boost while it's active is more than enough to anchor an entire team, and those wall hacks are crucial. So Rey is a very powerful DPS and support. On the flip side, we've got Kylo Ren, and this might surprise some people. I'm sure a lot of you expected Kylo to be a pure DPS, but look at his force powers. The pull and the freeze are 2 of the best crowd control abilities in all of Battlefront 2. Too often, I see Kylo Ren's pull a target, freeze them, and then run up and try to hit them while they're frozen, which is fine. But if you've got a blaster teammate that's standing next to you when you freeze them, give the target just half a second of hang time. Let the blaster shoot him up, get some free damage in there, and then you can swoop in and finish them off. My best games with Kylo Ren are when I'm focusing on the crowd control and letting my blasters do most of the work. If anything, I'm playing support to my blasters. But he's primary DPS because dude can dish out the damage, and he's got star cards that increases the damage to some of the highest in the entire game, so to not call him a DPS would be a crime. So that's 12 out of the 22 characters on Battlefront's roster so far that are all primary DPS, and we've still got some more that are secondary DPS later on in the video, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's move on to the tanks. This section is going to be a lot shorter. Starting with the pure tanks, there's only 2. Like we already mentioned, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Vader is clear cut. This guy is all about tanking. The guy has the highest health pool in the entire game. He can increase it even more with his middle ability. Insane defensive stamina. The stamina doesn't come back very quickly, but he can block for a really long time. Everybody knows how frustrating Darth Vader is to deal with. He's got that instant death combo where he can frame trap you with a choke while he's hitting you in the face with a lightsaber. Basically inescapable. Yeah, Vader is stupid. This guy is ridiculous in Battlefront 2, but he is the quintessential tank, and you're almost guaranteed to see Vader in every single HVV game you play. Vader is a tank in the classic definition because he's got a lot of health. Obi-Wan Kenobi is kind of the opposite. He doesn't quite have the same amount of health that Vader has. Instead, Obi-Wan's tanking falls back on his defensive stamina. If you thought Vader could block for a long time, Obi-Wan can do it basically twice as long, even longer if he's got the right star cards equipped. If he actually takes some damage, he can recover most of it back to full. With Jedi Resilience, he can take over half his health bar in damage and still get back up to 100%, all while safely hiding behind that block. Obi-Wan is at times more frustrating to deal with than Vader. I haven't even brought up the mind trick that shuts off your abilities. They're both tanks, just tanks in different ways. Vader is more reliant on his health bar, and Obi-Wan is more reliant on his stamina, but they both do the exact same thing. Next up, we have the one and only tank/DPS character in Battlefront 2, my main, my personal favorite, Chewbacca. I'm hairy like my boy, so I relate to him on a personal level.
You are hairy like animal. Good, baby, very good.
Now, if you don't play Chewbacca, I'm sure you're thinking, Chewie? A tank? Ha, yeah right, guy sucks. With the right star cards, he becomes insanely tanky. Impervious is one of those star cards that builds up over the course of the match while he's doing damage, and when it's maxed out, he takes 34% less damage from all sources. If you can max out Impervious quickly, Chewbacca is staying alive for a very long time. This is the card that makes him a tank. Without it, he's kind of useless, I'll be real with you. But that Furious Bowcaster and Shock Grenade combo is one of the strongest things in this entire game, especially if you can line up those headshots. So Chewie, while he needs a little bit of setup over the course of the game, he is a tank, but he's also a DPS. Then we've got the one and only tank slash support character, Captain Phasma, and this one might be a little surprising because Phasma, you might look at her and think, oh, she's just a pure support, right? Because of the stun droid. But that middle ability of hers is really good. It gives her some extra health, and if she's got the right star cards equipped, it gives her 50% damage reduction while it's active. You can actually tank a flurry of lightsaber attacks and go one-on-one with a Jedi. Well, two-on-one if you've got the droid. And that middle ability can save you in a lot of those exchanges. The droid obviously is what makes her a support character too, because it's more or less the fifth teammate on the dark side. Her little pea shooter of a blaster isn't that strong unless you can hit the shots consistently, so I cannot reasonably make her a DPS, but she is for sure a tank and support character. Now we're moving on to the last category, supports. And the supports in Battlefront 2 are really interesting, because usually in hero shooters, supports are the healers. They have some kind of ability or a weapon that gives health back to the teammates, but in Battlefront 2, there's really only two heroes who do that, and they don't do it very well. Support in Battlefront means just that, it's support, not so much healing. So let's check out the pure support heroes first, of which there's only two. Light side gets Finn, and I'm sure you saw that one coming a mile away. Finn is the support character on the light side. He doesn't heal the teammates except with his big deal ability, but that's more of just a temporary health buff, not so much healing. It's really the fact that he's an anchor for the team, where if you're hanging out next to Finn, he's going to be buffing you, giving you damage reduction, giving you damage boosts, giving you a speed increase with that undercover ability. He is the team anchor. If you have a Finn on your team, you want to stay next to him. And if you're playing Finn, you want to try to stay with your sabers as much as you can. It's tough because the sabers are obviously faster and they run away trying to get into lightsaber fights, but as a Finn, you just got to do your best to stick with them and buff them. And his EL-16 is actually pretty strong. If you can consistently hit those headshots, he can melt people. I've become more a fan of Finn over time. On the dark side though, the pure support character is BB9E. And I've become even more of a fan of BB9E. If you watch the streams, you know how crazy my balls are. My balls are pretty crazy, bro. I polish them every day. BB9E is probably the single most annoying character for the light side to deal with because that stun comes out every 3 seconds, give or take. He's got the smoke screen, which breaks lightsaber lock-on, so no lunging onto him. He's a small target, making him insanely difficult to hit. He cools his teammates' abilities down faster, and one of his passive abilities is a back-to-healing ability. He's actually one of the 2 characters who can passively heal his teammates over the course of the match. It's not a lot of health back, but it's something. It's better than nothing, you know? Oh yeah, and by the way, his middle ability shuts off basically everything in the game. Bye-bye Leia's E11, bye-bye Chewie's Furious Bowcaster, bye-bye grenades and explosives. Yeah, BB9E is an absolute menace. Not too shabby, eh? Ball diff. Next up though, we've got supports and DPSs, and there's 3 of them here, all of which are on the light side. First up, we've got Leia. I love Leia. The princess is rude, man. That E11 is, I think, the single fastest DPS weapon in the entire game, which is why she's considered secondary DPS. Between the E11, her primary blaster, and the grenades, she could easily be a pure DPS, but because the shield gives the teammates passive healing, she has to be primary support. That shield is the team anchor. When there's a Leia on the board, she needs to always have that shield out because that is what's going to be constantly healing her team. My best games are when I have a good Leia who's always dropping shield and I just hang out in it and get my health back. This helps for when you're playing those characters that need to build up their star cards, like Chewie, for example, Impervious. It's hard to build up Impervious when you keep taking damage, but if you have a Leia on your team who's healing you as you're taking that damage, you can build up Impervious way safer. And we're kind of getting into team composition combos here. That might be a video for another day. But moving on from Leia, next up we have Lando as the next support slash DPS character. I'm becoming more of a fan of Lando every day, man. I did not give him enough time when I first started this game, but Lando is good. Just like BB-90, that smokescreen breaks the lightsaber lock-ons, so the dark side can't lunge at you. The middle ability does insane damage. Oh, by the way, it also counters BB-90 because it locks onto BB-90's head, so it's an instant headshot every single time he uses it. Good 400 damage straight to the face. And of course, his stun needs no introduction. This stun is deadly. I'm loving getting pushed by a lightsaber user just to trap them with the stun and line up those headshots, melt them. If you land all headshots, you can even melt a Darth Vader from full health. Lando's tricky. I almost made him a kind of fourth category, something like a wild card, and I was going to put him and Bosk in that category, but I wanted to stick with the 3 ones that we know. So this is where Lando is going, support / DPS. And that brings us to our last one, BB-8. Kind of like Leia, BB-8 could also be primary DPS because he dishes out the damage with that cable spin, and his headbutt's really reliable too. The reason he's primary support is because of the passives and his left ability. Gives the team wall hacks, just like Rey's Insight. Yeah, the passive cools down the team's abilities a lot faster. That headbutt knocks down a lightsaber that's charging your blasters. BB-8, while fun played as a DPS, I think is best played as a support character. Doesn't mean you can't roll up in there and unleash those cables. There's just a time and a place for everything. But that brings us to our last character on the roster, and in this entire video, the final category, support tank. And I think this is probably going to be the most contentious. I gave this one to Yoda. The reason it's contentious is because, yes, he's a support character in that the middle ability plus his star card, Size Matters Not, it does heal the team. Size Matters Not is a really tricky star card where when you activate Presence and then you take damage, and you lose that bonus health, it will heal you for a percentage of that health that you lost. I think it's 60% or something like that. So it's not a lot, but over time, you could go from borderline dead all the way back up to full in a single life just by using that middle ability wisely. So technically, yes, he's a support / tank because of that extra health and the buff that he gives the team, except he's glitched. Everybody knows about the Yoda glitch where if you activate the middle ability away from where you first activated it, it won't affect the team. It's stupid, it's confusing, but it's just a bug. It is what it is. He's probably better played as a DPS, if I'm being 100% honest with you, but Yoda is supposed to be a support / tank, but because of that glitch, he doesn't really work the way he's supposed to. Makes sense in my mind. But that is all 22 characters on the Star Wars Battlefront 2 roster assigned the proper roles that they should have had in this game. Because again, the devs could have assigned these roles to the characters. They obviously fit, but the way they had to balance this game, they had to make the heroes usable in both the hero modes and also the large scale modes like Galactic Assault and Supremacy. And I think that's why most characters fit into the DPS categories, because they need to be able to do damage, you know what I mean? You can theoretically go on kill streaks with any of the heroes, it's just obviously harder with some. Like BB-90, getting a high kill streak with BB-90 in large scale is very difficult. Not because he can't do it, just because he doesn't do a lot of damage. Somebody like Grievous or Anakin, characters who can one-tap the troopers, they're much better to get long kill streaks with. So let me know what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. It took a long time to get the footage for it. I've been slacking on putting this one out, but it's finally out there. I appreciate you guys who've been waiting patiently ever since I mentioned it in the stream. With that said, guys, if you were unaware, I have a new streaming schedule on YouTube. I'm live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're still playing some Battlefront, but we're mixing in some more games here and there. It'd be cool to see you guys and hang out with you in chat. But with that, I'm going to call the video there. I appreciate you hanging out with me today. This has been Star. Keep shining, baby.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.